cafeteria at the Interstellar University of Relational Sciences wasn't exactly famous for its ambiance. With steel gray walls, a low ceiling of buzzing lights, and benches designed for anatomy that spanned 27 known species, it gave off the vibe of a holding cell more than an eatery. Still, it was the only place on campus where students from all over the galaxy could gather for the universally dreaded nutrient exchange period. Finnian Zeller stood at the end of the food line, tray in hand, eyes scanning the selection with the casual focus of a man who'd seen worse. Much worse. He worked the tongs into a tray of chicken nuggets, scooped up a pile of mashed potatoes, and then added a small mountain of mac and cheese to the side. The food steamed, yellow-orange and slightly lumpy. Next to him in line stood Velrix, a tall, sinewy student from the planet Axtan, who looked down at Finnian's tray with what could only be described as horror. "You are selecting items from the red-coded section," Velrix said, with a twitch in the corner of his neck, which Finnian had learned was equivalent to a wince. "Yeah," Finnian said, balancing his tray. "It's comfort food. You ever had mac and cheese?" Velrix recoiled. "We were advised against consuming anything with Category 4 emulsified dairy binders. It's listed as low-grade neurotoxic to 12 species." Finnian grinned but didn't sit yet. "It's not toxic to humans, it's delicious." Velrix's twin ocular ridges narrowed. "Humans consume neurotoxins for pleasure?" "Not on purpose," Finnian said. "Usually, but I mean we drink coffee. It's technically a stimulant toxin. And alcohol? Absolute poison. But Friday nights wouldn't be the same without it." Velrix tilted his head slowly. "And you survived this?" "Some of us even thrive." They sat. Or rather, Velrix perched on the edge of the bench, tray untouched, while Finnian dug in with the enthusiasm of a man who hadn't eaten in 12 hours. He took a bite of the chicken nugget, closed his eyes, and let out a satisfied sigh. "Is that pleasure?" Velrix asked. "Oh yeah," Finnian said, mouth full but not enough to muffle the words. "This is the good stuff. You want a bite?" "Absolutely not," Velrix said. "My species lacks the enzyme to process fried protein clusters. Our digestion would halt." Finnian shrugged and continued eating. Nearby, a group of other alien students whispered to each other, occasionally glancing at his tray like it was a biohazard. "Do you all seriously think Earth food is going to kill you?" Finnian asked, wiping his mouth with a napkin. A student from the planet Rauvex, whose name Finnian could never pronounce, leaned over. "It's not that we think it will kill us, we know it will. Your dietary compounds are riddled with saturated lipids, stimulants, preservatives, and volatile sugars. It's categorized as Class D sustenance, consumable only under hazard protocols." Finnian blinked. "Okay, but have any of you actually tried any of it?" There was silence. "Of course not," Velrix said. "We're required to submit blood samples and pass a xenodietary compatibility test before ingesting foreign food." "Well, I've eaten your food," Finnian said, stabbing his fork into a scoop of potatoes. "Last Tuesday. That green stuff that tasted like an old battery was Kelrat moss," Velrix said. "It's highly nutritious. It made my tongue numb for 3 hours." "You didn't run a compatibility test first?" "Nope. I just assumed anything served in a cafeteria wouldn't kill me." Velrix's eye ridges flared. "That's reckless. I call it optimistic." Later that week, Finnian received a formal invitation to participate in the Intercultural Nutritional Showcase, an event designed to foster understanding across species by sharing meals. He suspected Velrix had nominated him out of equal parts curiosity and concern. The event was held in the university's central atrium. Tables lined the perimeter, each labeled with flags from different homeworlds. Students bustled around, wearing gloves, masks, or in some cases full containment suits. Finnian arrived carrying a tray wrapped in foil. When he peeled it back, the smell of garlic, butter, and seared meat wafted into the air. Velrix approached cautiously. "What is that?" "Steak," Finnian said. "Garlic butter steak tips, to be exact. Took me all night to make." "You cooked it yourself?" "Yeah. I had to borrow a hot plate from the engineering department and butter from a diplomat's private stash. Felix leaned closer, sniffed, then stepped back. It smells aggressive. That's flavor, Finnian said. Want me to explain what's in it? Please. Beef, garlic, butter, salt, pepper, a splash of Worcestershire sauce. That's fermented anchovy extract. You good so far? Velrix's face twitched. I will observe. I will not ingest. Finnian handed out samples to a few curious students. Most declined. One brave Ralvexian took a bite and promptly lay down on the floor, eyes staring at the ceiling. Was that a seizure? Finnian asked. No, Velerix said, scanning the prone student with a handheld device. He's experiencing an involuntary euphoria loop. He'll be fine in 3 hours. Should I call someone? Only if his legs start convulsing. Finnian took a bite of his own and chewed thoughtfully. I still think it tastes great. The incident sparked a wave of debate across campus. Some argued that Earth food should be restricted entirely. Others claimed it was an important cultural artifact. A student from Pancakes 7 submitted a formal complaint to the Interstellar Dietary Board, labeling Earth cuisine biochemically confrontational. 2 days later, Finnian was summoned to a meeting with the university's Nutritional Safety Committee. The room was sterile and quiet. 5 representatives sat behind a curved table. You are Finnian Zeller, the central one said, a gelatinous being named Roar. Yeah. You served Earth food to non-Earth species without verifying biochemical compatibility. Pretty sure I offered it, they chose to try it. You also failed to label your food with hazard markers. What about his reaction? Should I have drawn a skull and crossbones on it? This is not a joke, Mr. Zeller. I'm not joking. I eat that stuff all the time. I'm not dead. You are human. Your species' digestive tract is unusually resilient. Your stomach lining regenerates at twice the speed of most vertebrate species. Finnian frowned. Wait, really? Do not pretend ignorance. I'm not. I just didn't know that. Her surface rippled. Your ignorance does not absolve responsibility. You have breached dietary protocol. So what happens now? You are banned from serving Earth-based food at public events. Furthermore, you must attend a week-long xenodietary safety course. Fine. Do I at least get dinner during the course? Only from the green-coated section of the cafeteria. Finnian groaned. The course was brutal. Endless lectures, simulations, and charts detailing cross-species allergic reactions. One student passed out after a slide depicting capsaicin's effect on Trelvian lung sacs. On the final day, students were required to submit one safe, non-toxic food item from their homeworld for the class to sample. Finnian brought Jell-O. He made it with filtered water, sugar, gelatin, and artificial flavoring. He double-checked every ingredient and ran it through the compatibility scanner twice. It beeped green both times. When the tray was passed around, Velrix took a cube hesitantly. What is the texture? He asked. Wiggly, Finnian said. Velrix prodded it. And the flavor? Strawberry. Artificial. No actual fruit. Velrix placed the cube in his mouth and chewed. It wobbled on his tongue. After a few seconds, his eyes widened. His is acceptable. Finnian grinned. See, we're making progress. Velrix swallowed. It tastes like childhood amusement. That's the goal. By the end of the week, the class voted the Jell-O the safest, most enjoyable Earth food sampled. Finnian was awarded a certificate titled Cultural Contribution Through Culinary Diplomacy. He pinned it to his dorm wall with a piece of tape and wrote underneath in black marker, "Humans, not toxic, just tasty." Finnian tapped the tip of his stylus against the table, eyes flicking between the assignment prompt on his tablet and the half-eaten fig bar resting next to it. The fig bar had been a gift from an ambassador's assistant, who claimed it was among the least alarming of human snacks. Still, no one dared touch it but Finnian. Across from him sat Izin, a soft-shelled okari with translucent blue skin and an unfortunate tendency to perspire under stress. Izen's limbs were long and jointless, coiled under his seat like folded tubing. He squinted at the diagram Finnian had drawn, a crude sketch of the human digestive system, annotated with arrows and warnings. "You're telling me," Izen said, inching his upper body closer to the screen, "acid lives permanently inside your stomach." "Lives is a strong word," Finnian said. "It's hydrochloric acid. We secrete it, it breaks stuff down, pretty basic. But it doesn't dissolve your own lining? Not unless something goes really wrong. The stomach has mucus to protect itself, like a biological raincoat." "That's horrible," Izen said, visibly recoiling. "You are walking around with corrosive fluid sloshing inside you, and you consider that ordinary?" Finnian looked up. "You think that's bad? Our intestines are over 20 feet long. You could jump rope with them." Izen's facial membrane fluttered like a flag in a light breeze. "Why would you measure your internal organs in rope? I'm just saying, they're long. Do you at least replace them?" "No, we just keep them. Forever." Izen blinked rapidly. "Your species is distressingly comfortable with internal violence." A soft chime interrupted them. The professor, a rigid, bark-skinned Sarnathi named Dr. Kaur, stepped into the study hall and clapped his hands once. It echoed like a tree snapping in half. "Group assignments begin now. You will each analyze how your species' biology affects dietary customs. Teams of 2. Reports due in 72 Earth hours." Finnian turned to Izen immediately. "Partners?" Izen hesitated, then nodded with the enthusiasm of someone agreeing to a medical experiment. They spent the next 2 hours in the biology lab, surrounded by sample trays and holo panels displaying cross-species anatomical models. Izen pointed to one labeled Homo sapiens and tapped at the colon section with a stylus. "This region is winding." "It's a maze," Finnian admitted. "It's why digestion takes time. My people process nutrients externally first. We secrete enzymes onto our food before internal absorption. No winding tubes." Finnian leaned back. "So you sort of pre-digest things like an external stomach?" "Correct. It's efficient. Also, it makes eating a communal activity. Everyone contributes. Enzymes. That's a health violation where I'm from." Izen's head tilted. "You eat alone?" "Well, not always. But we don't co-secrete anything." Izen hummed, a sound similar to someone rubbing glass with a wet cloth. "Your culinary habits are more solitary than I assume." Finnian shrugged. "We do share food, but not saliva." That night, Finnian was back in his dorm kitchen, elbow deep in a bowl of flour, oil, and water. He was attempting something simple. Pancakes, not for breakfast, but as a demonstration for their report. He figured the transformation of goo into golden discs might impress Izen. The batter sizzled as it hit the pan. He added blueberries, dried ones, scavenged from a Terran import kit, and flipped the first pancake with an expert flick. The smell began to drift under the door. 10 minutes later, Izen arrived, a filter mask around his neck and a data pad clutched in one limb. "I detected increased heat and vapor emissions from your unit. Are you in distress?" "Nope," Finnian said, sliding a pancake onto a plate. "Just cooking." Izen approached cautiously. "You're applying open flame to food matter again. This one's safe. No meat, no dairy, no preservatives. Just flour, water, fruit, and a hint of sugar." Finnian handed him a plate and a fork. Izen poked the pancake like it might leap off the dish. "It's spongy. Soft texture. Try it." Izen inhaled through his spiracles and took a bite. He chewed slowly, eyes narrowing. "Interesting," he said. "It dissolves without enzyme assistance." "That's the goal." He took another bite, faster this time, then another. After the third, he stood still for a moment, then looked down at the plate. "It's not unpleasant." Finnian grinned. "High praise." You transformed non-nutritive powder into a palatable solid using heat and fruit. That's what we call breakfast innovation. He then finished the pancake and handed back the empty plate with a solemn nod. I will add this to our report under unorthodox human processing techniques. The next morning, they presented their findings in front of the seminar group. Izen handled the first half, detailing his species' external enzyme rituals and absorption cycles. When it was Finnian's turn, he projected a 3D model of a human digestive tract and pointed to various parts as he spoke. We survive because of a stubbornly adaptive system. It's not elegant, but it's thorough. We can digest a shocking variety of substances, as long as we don't overdo it. Our gut microbiota help us break down foods we couldn't otherwise process. In fact, our bodies can adjust over time to tolerate new diets. A student from Dreltar raised an appendage. You mean you evolved dietary tolerance within one lifetime? To a degree, Finnian said. It's not genetic evolution, more like microbial training. If I eat a new food regularly, my gut ecosystem shifts to handle it better. The room erupted into murmurs. Dr. Quor raised a branch-like arm. Clarify, are you suggesting your internal bacteria adapt reactively to new stimuli? Exactly, Finnian said. That's why some travelers get stomach issues when they visit Earth. Not because the food's dangerous, just unfamiliar. The murmurs grew louder. Then why are you not constantly ill? Someone asked. Finnian shrugged. We've got strong stomach acid and a high pain threshold. Plus, we're stubborn. After the class, Dr. Quor approached them. Your report is unconventional, but informative. The demonstration was effective. Izen nodded. The pancake was pivotal. Dr. Quor blinked twice. I will be updating the Dietary Compatibility Index for humans. It appears we have underestimated their biomechanical resilience. Later that afternoon, back in the cafeteria, Finnian found Velrix waiting near the entrance. You made the index, Velrix said, holding up a tablet. Category upgraded from cautionary to conditionally tolerable. Sounds flattering? Velrix looked at him carefully. The reevaluation has sparked proposals for controlled cultural tastings. They want you to lead the first one. Finnian froze mid-step. Seriously? They want a curated experience. Recipes, process explanations, supervised ingestion. No unmarked steak this time. Finnian rubbed the back of his neck. I'm going to need a bigger hot plate. Velrix handed him a list. They've already chosen the menu. You'll be provided ingredients and a medical monitor. Finnian scanned the list. Pancakes, vegetable stew, rice dishes, and something called Earth Soup Variant 12. I didn't invent that last one. You will now... He sighed, folded the list, and stuffed it in his jacket. All right, I'll make it work. Velrix blinked slowly. You always do. They walked into the cafeteria together. Behind them, the door hissed shut, sealing in the faint scent of batter and something new. Something that, for the first time, didn't make the alien students flinch. The air in the demonstration hall smelled faintly of metal polish and ozone, which was a marked improvement from the cafeteria's usual tang of sterilized steam and overworked rehydrators. It was late afternoon, and the sun filtered through the university's synthetic atmosphere dome cast a soft orange light through the upper windows, giving the room a warmth it rarely saw. Finnian stood at the center prep station, sleeves pushed up, apron slightly crooked, a scattering of ingredients laid out in front of him like a ritual. A double induction burner hummed quietly on the counter. To his right, a tall stack of cooking manuals in 6 languages leaned at a dangerous angle, none of which he had opened. As across the room, the student audience settled into their assigned safety zones, separated by curved partitions and individual air filters. Most wore filtration masks or visors, and a few had translator implants visibly blinking along their necks. Only one other human was present, a quiet philosophy student named Ella, who'd come out of what she called morbid curiosity. Everyone else was alien 15 species represented, each with their own dietary anxiety. Finnian took a breath and turned on the external mic. All right, he began. Today's session is called Thermal Transformation and the Joy of Soup. We're making a variant of a classic Earth dish. It's vegetable-based, low acid, no allergens, no animal products, and I've triple-tested the ingredients for compatibility. A few students nodded. One adjusted a small drone hovering above their head, which beeped approvingly. Now, in human kitchens, Finnian continued, we start with something called mirepoix. It's a mix of chopped vegetables, onions, carrots, and celery that forms the base of a lot of our dishes. A hand-like appendage rose from a student near the back. Is the chopping necessary for biochemical reasons? Not really, Finnian said, beginning to dice the onion. It's just about even cooking and releasing flavor. Smaller pieces cook faster. But we do cry sometimes while cutting onions. That's not a cooking technique, that's just a side effect. A ripple of concern passed through the audience. One student, a Tyrrhenian whose skin darkened when alarmed, leaned forward cautiously. The onion emits a gas strong enough to affect your eyes? Yeah, it releases a sulfur compound that mixes with moisture in your eyes to make a weak acid. Gasps from 3 different directions. But it doesn't cause permanent damage. Finnian added quickly. Our eyes have tear ducts that flush irritants. It's unpleasant, but harmless. A small murmur of disbelief followed. The Tyrrhenian raised one hand again. And you knowingly expose yourselves to this as part of flavor development? Sure, Finnian said, tossing the chopped onion into the pot. The end result's worth it. He added the carrots and celery, then poured in vegetable broth synthesized from algae cultures and root extracts. The liquid hissed and steamed. A few alien students instinctively leaned back. Now we let that simmer and soften. While that happens, Finnian said, I want to talk about something else, salt. Another student, a thin-limbed creature with mirrored skin, shifted uncomfortably. Your species consumes sodium chloride intentionally? Yes, Finnian replied. In moderation. It enhances flavor and helps with nerve and muscle function. Our kidneys manage the excess. Too much is bad, but without any, we'd have serious issues, such as low blood pressure, confusion, even seizures. Our cells depend on electrolyte balance to maintain function. The mirrored student blinked repeatedly. You require a mineral that would poison over 80% of known species? Yep, Finnian said, tossing in a measured pinch. And we like it crunchy, too. Put it on chips. A few students scribbled notes frantically. One pulled a med scanner from their bag and ran it over the soup from 10 feet away. Finnian adjusted the flame beneath the pot. Now let's talk texture. Humans have a wide variation in what we consider pleasant. Some folks like things crunchy, some like them soft. This soup is going to be smooth because that's easier for multi-species digestion. He pulled out a handheld immersion blender and plunged it into the pot. The loud buzz made a few students jolt, but he kept going. The vegetables broke down into a golden puree. A student near the front raised a tentacle. Is it common for humans to use mechanical disruption as part of food preparation? Absolutely, Finnian said. We blend, mash, grind, whip whatever gets the texture we want. Sometimes we even ferment things for weeks just to make them taste stronger. What's the biological justification for fermentation? Someone asked. Finnian hesitated, then laughed. Honestly, it started as preservation, but somewhere along the way we realized we liked the weird flavors that came with it. It's not always about efficiency. Sometimes we just like how something tastes, even if it's a bit funky. He poured the soup into sample cups and motioned toward the service table. All right, it's ready. If you'd like to try it, we've got individual biosafe spoons and temperature control. Izen, who had been observing from the far right, approached cautiously. He scanned the soup with his personal meter, then picked up a sample and held it close to his spiracle. It emits warmth, he said. Yep, that's part of the experience. Izen took a small sip. He blinked once, then again. The texture is uniformly soft. The flavor is layered. That's the onions and carrots. The sweetness comes out as they cook. Several other students followed. One by one, they sampled. A few took cautious sips, others small nibbles. Some set it down after a taste, but none refused outright. The mirrored student from earlier swallowed a spoonful and looked stunned. "There's a sensation I don't have a word for." Finnian nodded. "We call that comfort food." By the end of the hour, nearly every sample cup was empty. No one collapsed. No one fled. One student asked for the recipe. Another requested a sample to take back to their dorm for biochemical analysis and possibly recreational ingestion. Dr. Quor entered near the end and observed the cleanup. "You've done what I believed unlikely," he said. "Introduced unfamiliar consumption practices without incident." Finnian wiped his hands on a towel. "That was the goal. Not to convince anyone to eat like us, just to show that it's not all poison and danger." "Your methods are informal," Quor said, "but effective." Velrix arrived carrying a data tablet. "The results are already logged. No adverse reactions. The Terrenian student even marked their experience as intriguingly tolerable." "High praise," Finnian said. Ward turned to Velrix. "Shall we approve the next phase?" Velrix nodded. "Yes, the Cultural Exchange Board has requested a monthly rotation. Each session will highlight a different human preparation method." "Am I being roped into a full series now?" Finnian asked. "You are the only one who can cook without incinerating the rehydrators," Velrix said. "Consider it an honor." Finnian looked around the now empty cups, the satisfied faces, the quiet hum of the cleanup drones. "All right, but next month I'm making dumplings." Velrix hesitated. "Those contain pressurized fillings encased in elastic starch?" "You've been studying," Finnian said. "I've been preparing." As the room emptied, Finnian packed up the leftover ingredients and wiped down the counters. The soup pot was still warm, and he poured the last bit into a small container for later. He walked out into the corridor, apron still on, hands smelling faintly of garlic and steam. Behind him, the demonstration hall lights dimmed automatically. There were no alarms, no evacuations, no medical emergencies, just a faint, lingering scent of cooked vegetables and a room that had, for the first time, tasted earth without fear.